The Biden administration plans to hold an equity summit with educators next week. The idea is to fundamentally reshape the education of America's children. Our next guest introduced a bill in Congress to bar federal funding for the 1619 Project in our nation's schools, which argues that America was founded primarily to prolong slavery. Let's bring in Colorado Congressman Ken Buck, House Judiciary and Foreign Affairs Committee members. Thanks for joining us, sir. Good to have you here. So why is it so important for you to keep critical race theory from being taught in our nation's schools?
For a number of reasons. One, it's historically inaccurate. The 1619 Project produced a document that has been roundly criticized by historians. Two, it is racially divisive. And its inaccuracy goes to the heart of who we are as a people. It ignores the documents, our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Federalist Papers. It ignores the writings of our founders, and it ignores the intent that this country was founded upon. We fought a revolution to free ourselves from a monarch, from a centralized government, and the 13 colonies became the first 13 states. Joined together as an expression of freedom. The idea that this country came together in 1619 when 20 slaves were brought to this country is just false.
You are introducing this bill along with Rick Allen and Senator Tom Cotton. Tom Cotton, of course, a big part of keeping this out of our schools and out of our military. There are some who say that this is a partisan issue and that many Republicans are labeling critical race theory in areas that it's not quite being taught as that. This is an NBC article on the theory and equity program saying virtually all school districts insist that they are not teaching critical race theory, but many activists and parents have begun using it as a catch-all term to refer to what schools often call equity programs, teaching about racism or LGBTQ inclusive policies. Is there a clear difference there, sir?
There's not. The Marxist ideology that the 1619 Project is based on, that the equity principles are based on, are very simple, and that is to drive a wedge between Americans. And this curriculum does just that, and it has been used in part or in whole in various school districts in the United States. And it has to stop, and it certainly has to stop with federal taxpayer dollars. I would challenge Americans to find out whether this is being taught in their own schools and to make sure they hold their school boards accountable. But the least we can do in Congress is to make sure that we don't allow money, federal funds, to be used to promote this kind of very divisive and harmful curriculum.
Do you find that there is bipartisan support for this? You're introducing this bill in the House to ban federal funds from any schools that teach critical race theory in this country. But is it a partisan issue? I mean, I go back and I think about that little girl and her father, an African-American girl and her father who went viral for her message, sitting next to her dad saying, I don't want to see color in people. I just want to see people for the goodness in them. I want everybody to be treated equally. We've seen parents rise up in boardroom meetings across the country, school board meetings across the country. So is there bipartisan support for this, Congressman?
I don't know of bipartisan support at this point. It was just introduced recently. I hope there is bipartisan support because we have to make sure we come together as a country. If there's one thing that we have learned from the riots last summer, as well as the activities during January here in Washington, D.C., that we are divided as a people, and we can't allow one group of young people to be taught one curriculum, mostly in urban America, and others in the suburbs and rural America to be taught something completely different. We have to come together as a country. We have to understand our history much better than we have.
Congressman, what do you offer as a solution then? Because there is obviously a serious conversation being had in this country. And so while you want to ban federal funds from those schools that teach this, what is your answer to more equity?
I'm not suggesting that we ban federal funds to schools that teach this. I'm suggesting that we ban federal funds from being used to teach this. These federal funds would still be available for children with special needs and all kinds of other programs. It just couldn't be used to teach this particular curriculum. But what I really believe is that we find the history of this country, that we do that with qualified historians, and that we teach our kids similar curriculum so that they understand the greatness, why we're an exceptional nation. If it's a partisan issue, it's a partisan issue because the left continues to push this kind of curriculum on Americans.
Congressman, appreciate the conversation. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.